Tonight, we step into first one from 10 true cases the world still can't explain. Turn down the lights, listen closely, and whatever you do, don't look behind you. December 1900. The North Atlantic is a restless beast. Endless gray water, winds that howl like something alive, waves crashing against black cliffs. Out here, safety depends on one thing: a small beam of light cutting through the storm. A lighthouse is more than stone and glass. It is survival. And so, when the crew of a passing vessel looked to the horizon and saw nothing where the Flannan Isles light should have been, their stomachs sank. That lantern was never supposed to fail. Days later, a relief ship made the difficult approach to the tiny island of Eilean Moor, one of the lonely Flannans. The men on board expected to find 3 keepers, weathered, tired, maybe grumbling, but alive. They expected a light restored, excuses made, maybe laughter over bad weather. Instead, the island waited in silence. The landing was rough, cliffs rising like jagged knives out of the sea. A boat was lowered, oars cutting through icy surf, boots slipping against rock as men scrambled ashore. They looked for a welcoming wave from the balcony of the lighthouse, some figure leaning out to greet them. Nothing, only wind and gulls. They climbed the narrow path, rope railings strained under their grip, sea spray stung their faces, and when they reached the heavy door of the lighthouse, they hesitated. No smoke from the chimney, no sound of footsteps within, just the muffled pound of the ocean below. When they pushed inside, what they found would haunt them for the rest of their lives. The place was empty, utterly still. The clock on the wall had stopped, frozen in time. Beds were unmade, as if the men had risen and never returned. In the kitchen, plates and cutlery waited on the table, but the food had not been touched. One chair lay overturned on the floor, as if someone had stood in sudden haste. And then, on the wall hooks, 2 sets of heavy oilskins were gone, but one remained. The coats were essential for venturing outside into the fierce Atlantic storms. Why would one man leave his behind? Why would he step into the fury of the sea without protection? The searchers fanned out, calling the names of the 3 missing keepers: Thomas Marshall, James Duquette, Donald MacArthur. Their voices echoed through the cold stone rooms, unanswered. The men were gone. On the desk lay the logbook. At first glance, it seemed ordinary. Dates, notes about the weather, routine records of the daily grind of lighthouse duty. But as the entries neared their end, the tone shifted. One note spoke of severe winds, the likes of which I have never seen before. Another described odd winds, strong yet still, and ended with a chilling line: God is over all. The very last entry read, storm ended, sea calm, God is over all. Yet here's the strange truth. No storms had been reported in the region at that time. For ships passing miles away, the waters were calm. Only on the island did terror seem to reign. The logbook was the last trace of the keepers. No sign of violence, no blood, no footprints leading away. just silence, an overturned chair, and words written in an unsteady hand. The official investigation pieced together fragments of the scene. On the west landing, searchers found damage, iron railings twisted and bent, a storage box shattered, ropes and gear dragged into the sea. It looked like some massive force had struck there. But how? The landing sat nearly 70 feet above the waterline. For waves to climb that high, they would need to be monsters, rogue waves, unpredictable walls of ocean rising from nowhere. Scientists today admit such waves exist, but in 1900, the concept was unknown. Had one man gone down to secure equipment in a sudden squall, leaving the others to follow in desperate haste? Did all three get swept away together, their bodies claimed forever by the Atlantic? If so, why were none ever returned by the tide? Theories sprouted quickly, each darker than the last. Some believed the men simply fell victim to the sea. A wave, a gust, a slip on wet stone. That was all it took. Practical, simple. But the details refused to fit nicely. Why abandon one coat? Why was the tent of daily routine, the meals, the fire, the clock, frozen in such unnatural pause? Others whispered of madness. Isolation can erode even the strongest minds. 3 men alone on a barren rock, the world reduced to stone, water, and fog. Perhaps tempers flared. Perhaps violence broke loose. One man struck, another defended, and the struggle carried them to the cliffs. But again, no sign of blood, no bodies, only questions. And then, of course, came the supernatural tales. The Flannan Isles had long been shrouded in legend. Locals said the rocks were haunted, cursed by ancient spirits. Shepherds would graze their flocks there, but never stay the night. Some swore fairies dwelled in the mist, jealous of intruders. When the keepers vanished, these stories leapt to life again. The island, they said, had simply taken back what belonged to it. 3 men swallowed by the wind, 3 souls claimed by the sea. But who were these men, really? Thomas Marshall was only 28, the second assistant keeper. James Duquette was older, seasoned, respected. Donald MacArthur, the relief keeper, had a reputation for toughness, strong, capable, with a temper when pushed. They were not dreamers, not reckless fools. They were chosen for their steadiness, for the ability to endure silence and monotony, to guard the light with discipline. Imagine their families on the mainland, waiting with lamps burning in cottage windows. Wives and children expecting their men to come home on leave, telling stories of gulls and storms. Instead, word arrived of absence, of nothing. The sea had not just taken 3 men, it had torn holes in 3 families, left them staring at the horizon for answers that never came. The story spread. Newspapers printed wild speculation. Poets wrote ballads. The tale of the vanished keepers lodged itself deep in the imagination of a world already in love with mystery. The lighthouse was manned again, its lantern restored. But for those who visited, a chill clung to the place. Some swore they heard footsteps in empty halls. Others claimed they saw figures pacing the cliffs at dusk. Sailors whispered of voices in the wind, crying names that no longer answered. And still, the facts remained stark. 3 men, a stopped clock, a meal uneaten. 2 coats missing, 1 left behind. Damage at the landing, a logbook ending with God, and then nothing. So what happened on that winter's night in 1900? Perhaps it truly was only the sea, wild, merciless, and unpredictable. Perhaps 1 man went out, 2 followed, and all were lost in a single cruel moment. Perhaps madness gripped them, or perhaps, as islanders still murmur, the Flannans claimed them as sacrifice.